It matters so little how much you may own, the place you've been, or the people you've known. For it all comes to nothing when placed at his feet. It's nothing to Jesus but memories to keep. Only one life, so soon it will pass. Only what's done for Christ will last. Only one chance to do his will. So give to Jesus all your days. It's the only life that pays. When you recall, you have but one life.
You may take all the treasures from faraway lands. Take all the riches you can hold in your hands, and take all the pleasures your money can buy. But what will you have when it's your time to die?
The days pass so quickly, the months come and go, the years melt away like new fallen snow. Spring turns to summer, summer to fall.
Death comes to call. Only one life, so soon it will pass. Only what's done for Christ will last. Only one chance to do his will. So give to Jesus all your days. It's the only life that pays.
When you recall,
You recall, you have but one life.
Well, I want to invite to the pulpit this morning Brother Darrel Peavy, and as he comes, if you were here in Sunday school, you of course met him this morning, and we're happy to have him and his wife. And yeah, you just make yourself comfortable there, brother, for just for a minute, because I wanted to remind the people that tonight Brother Harold Summers with the Friends of Israel Ministry will be with us. You'll not want to miss that as he brings us an update. He's the local representative that we support, and he's always has a good message and a good word. The Bible says to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. And so one of the first things that we did as a church was to make sure that we had a missionary that reached out to Jewish people and had a Jewish ministry. Brother Harold Summers fills that role for us, and he'll be back tonight at 6 o'clock. So you make plans for doing that. Brother Peavy is no stranger to our church, and we're so glad that he consented to come and to be part of our missions conference. And brother, you come, and we're interested to hear what the Lord has laid upon your heart this morning.
Thank you guys so much, as we are the Peavies, and it is part of our job and our duty to come and present to you guys. For me? Yeah, I'll do that in a second. She's going to say something first. But it's our job and our duty to come to you guys and respond to you guys and tell you guys what the Lord's been doing. We did that in Sunday school, and now it's a chance for us me to preach again and to be with you guys a little bit longer. So I'm going to let Laura read something she wanted to read and talk and something to put on her heart.
Yes, I just wanted to say we thank God for each and every one of you. You guys have been such an encouragement to us during this last year. When I was sick, I just wanted to thank you. You've gotten us through some pretty tough times. We don't know what it is yet, but we know what it isn't, and that's an encouragement to us as well, Lord. And we're just thankful for you. And you know, a lot of people come up to me and say, you know, thank you for what you do. I couldn't do it. And I said, well, we're not all called, but we are all called to pray. And I know that all of you, every time I come in, you all know what is going on with me, and you are praying for me. And if there's one thing I can count on, that is one thing that I know that this church is praying for me. And I wanted to read something to all of you, a poem that was read to me a long time ago, and it is by Sandra Goodwin, and it's called Traveling on My Knees. Last night I took a journey to a land across the seas. I did not go by ship or plane. I traveled on my knees. I saw so many people there in bondage to their sin, and Jesus told me I should go, that there were souls to win. But I said, Jesus, I can't go to land across the seas. He answered quickly, yes, you can, by traveling on your knees. He said, you pray, I'll meet the need. You call, and I will hear. It's up to you to be concerned for lost souls far and near. And so I did. I knelt in prayer, gave up some hours of ease, and with the Savior by my side, I traveled on my knees. As I prayed on, I saw souls saved and twisted persons healed. I saw God's workers' strength renewed while laboring in the field. I said, yes, Lord, I'll take the job. Your heart I want to please. I'll heed your call and swiftly go by traveling on my knees. I just wanted to thank you all so much.
Amen.
And that is how we're all supposed to be involved in missions in some way, shape, or form. Even if you can't go, you can still be involved, and the Lord puts it on your account. Puts it on your account. Puts it for you, because you were unable to go, but you had the desire to go, but were unable to do it. And it's not a matter of what you do, where you go. It's just a matter of making sure that you're involved in some way, shape, or form. And that's what's so important. That's what most people don't understand about missions, is they see a missionary and they think, oh, he's just after money. Money, 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 money. That's all he wants. But it's so much more than that, because it's a group effort. You guys here, us there, people all over the world. We pray for missionaries that are elsewhere too. We have friends that are in Madagascar. We have friends that are all over the world. And, you know, we as missionaries have a job to pray for them as well. It's my job to pray for them. Their job to pray for me. And whenever you send a missionary to the field, you are taking part in that ministry. It's like you send an ambassador. The ambassadors of the United States, they're all over the country. Are you an ambassador? Are you in another country? No, but they're there representing you. And that's what we're there. We're there representing you guys, because you guys support us and pray for us on a regular basis. And we thank you guys so much for that. Preacher was talking a minute ago about next Sunday's is this next Sunday or Saturday? It's the dinner thing. Next Sunday evening. He said, if you can't bring something, just bring some fried chicken. Okay? I got to the DR, and they all talked about pica pollo. Pica pollo, pica pollo, pica pollos. All the Dominican boys could say, I want to take you to get some pica pollo. You know, I'd gone down to some of these places and gotten food before, and he said, well, I want to take you to get some pica pollo. And I said, okay, let's go. And I went there with him, and I look at it, and he says, give me 3 pieces of pica pollo. And I said, okay. So I gave him the money for it, and he goes and he pulls out 3 pieces of chicken, fried chicken. I said, so there's your pica pollo. It's fried chicken. So if you bring fried chicken next week, you bring a Dominican dish, okay? Fried chicken is the national dish of the Dominican Republic. They'll say it's sancocho or something else, but fried chicken is the national dish. Everywhere you go, anywhere you go in the country, you can find something that says fried chicken on it, or pica pollo. You'll find it anywhere you go in the country. And they have on the little roadside stands, they have it all over the place. And, you know, I have a bad habit of whenever I see food, I eat it. My general rule is this. If you pull up to the place and there's a lot of people standing in line, the food is probably safe to eat. It's not going to hurt you. You're not going to get sick. I've only had 3 amoebas since I've been there. But, you know, that's my general rule. So for the most part, it takes care of me, and I don't have any problems with it. So I've only gotten sick a couple times with that. But that's the thing is fried chicken is a dish. So if you bring fried chicken to a Baptist function, you can say you're bringing a foreign meal. You're bringing Dominican food. Even if it says KFC on the side of it, doesn't matter. It's foreign food. Okay? It's Dominican. All right? So that's what we got. But anyway, I wanted to expound a little bit more about some different things this morning with you guys. As I said before, I appreciate you guys so much for praying for us on a regular basis and being there for us. And over the past 3 years on the field, how long have we been coming here? How long have we been visiting you guys here? 5, 6 years now?
Because you were on deputation, I think, when we first started picking you up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been that long.
5, 6 years we've been coming here. And I've been preaching and coming here every time we come and preach. And the Lord teaches me something every time. He's constantly teaching me things, constantly improving me and constantly moving me. And I thank you guys so much for praying. If you don't know about Laura's health issues, she had, while we're in the DR, was it last year? 2019, January 2019, she got real sick. And she had what's called H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori. It's basically a bacteria that gets into your stomach, and it eats ulcers in your stomach. And she had that, and she had like 8 or 9 ulcers that had eaten in her stomach. And she still has repercussions from it today. She still has a lot of reflux from it. But we got back home in June to get some stuff checked out with her. And then she had some other issues that happened. We don't know what all's going on with her, but the doctors know what it isn't. They don't know what it is, but we'll see what happens in the future. We're still planning to go back. We're still planning to work, and we're just going to treat it like, the Lord knows what's going on and go from there. The Lord's continuing to work, so please continue to pray for Laura as we get moving there. But as I said, we went in 2019, and I want to talk a little bit about faith. Let's go to Genesis chapter 22. Somebody you can put a marker there, and I'll go to Hebrews and read Hebrews. There's something I want to read. I've preached on faith. I've preached on these passages before, and the Lord's just really worked on me in the last year, really, walking by faith with everything that was happening with Laura and everything else, and the Lord really worked on me. Now, Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, you say in Genesis, don't do that. I'm going to go to these and read these other ones. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. In other words, it's believing in something you can't see. And then if you go to Hebrews 11:6, this is, without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. And I've said before, faith is something that is not just like, you don't just learn it overnight. It's a process. The Lord takes you down this road and teaches you faith through time. You say, so what is faith? What is faith? So if I don't have a chair up here to stand on it. Faith is saying, I believe that bench right there, if I sit on it or if I stand on it, it's going to support me. So I can stand over here and say, I believe it's going to support me all I want. But am I having faith by standing here and saying I believe it's going to support me? No. And it's not until I actually walk over and I sit down on that bench that I know it supports me and I'm actually living that faith out. That's the best way for me to explain what faith is to somebody is you can stand in the corner and say, I have faith, I have faith, I have faith, I have faith. But if you never act on that faith, do you really have faith? If you never actually work on that faith and show something out of that faith, do you actually have faith? You're doing a lip service. You're not actually doing it. You're not actually living by faith. And that's what happens a lot of times with us is we say, oh, I have faith, I have faith, I have faith, and we don't actually live by it. And it can happen to anybody. can happen to your pastor. It can happen to me. It can happen to the youngest of believers, the oldest of believers. You have to have faith to please God. Because Hebrews 11:6 says, without faith it is impossible to please God. We have to walk by faith. And for me, let me just give an example of how this happened to me. The biggest part of faith for me was in 2017. You say, well, 2017 you're going to the field. I said, yeah, exactly. I had been on deputation for several years, and we had raised our support, and we were on our way to the field, and we were going, and we were getting ready. I had bought the tickets, and we were going to go in November, and we were ready to go. Said, I'm going, I'm living by faith, I'm good to go. I'm doing it. Came around time for our commissioning service, and everybody shows up to say goodbye. Whew, this is really happening. I've been living here and been doing deputation, but I've also been working, and I've been able to support my family. I've been able to take care of them. I've been able, if something happens, I can go out and do a side job, and I'll be good to go. Take care of whatever it was. But now I'm going to a field. I'm going to another country. What's going to happen if something happens and I need money? Can I trust God? What's going to happen if something happens in the field and we get sick, or something happens and we got to go to the hospital? The medical stuff there doesn't come from the States. The medical stuff there comes from Cuba, and most of our doctors are trained in Cuba, and I don't know how good Cuba's medical system is, and the medical system isn't good. These are things that start going through my head. What's going to happen if something happens to one of my little girls? Lord, you got to take care of them. Lord, I got to walk by faith. I've said it all this time, but do I really want to get on that plane next week? Oh, my goodness. What am I doing? I'm leaving the security of everything I've known, everything I've done. My girls are taking them to another country where they don't speak Spanish. Yes, they got cousins there, but the whole language, they go out in the streets and they don't know anybody. They can't speak Spanish. What happens if they get lost? How are they going to tell somebody where they live? What's going to happen? I don't know what's going on, Lord. I'm scared to death. I was wavering in my faith a little bit. And then we got there. We arrived and we drove 2 hours home, and we got to Puerto Plata, and we were there, and we just got in the house, and the missionaries dropped us off at the house, said, we'll see you tomorrow. We'll go out and get you set up for your phone and everything else, and we'll take care of you tomorrow. And we get there, and we get in the house, and we get settled. We get our bags inside. No sooner than we get our bags inside, there goes the power. And, you go outside here, and, your power in your house goes out. You can go outside, and you got the city lights around you and everything else. You can see a little bit good at night outside. There the power goes out. The power goes out for the whole part of the city you're in. Nobody's got lights. You walk outside, and it's just as dark outside as it is inside your house. All you got is a little bit of moonlight. I get there, and I'm like, man, what is going on, Lord? What are you doing? Like, why is all this happening? What's going on? I mean, it was a tester. The Lord tested my faith. I'm sure my wife had similar things that happened with her when we got going. She was there, and she was saying, we got all this going on. It's a lot happening right now, Lord. I just don't know where to go. I don't know what's going to go on. I don't know what your plans are. I don't know anything, Lord. It was at that moment we had to stop and we had to say, Lord, we're going to trust you. Yes, we have faith. We've been doing this for years. We've been getting ready to this point for years, but now the rubber meets the road and we actually have to do it. I have to live out that seat that I was talking about. I have to live in that. I have to say, I am going to be faithful. I am going to stay faithful. And if I had turned around and ran and said, I hadn't used that experience to grow from it, and I'd said, oh, well, I'm just done. I'm not going to do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. What do you think would have happened with my wife and me whenever she got sick? And they came and said, we went to the doctor, and the doctor said, we're going to have to do an endoscopy. You know what an endoscopy is, right? They stick a tube down your throat and goes down to your stomach. And these are Dominican doctors. It's third world country. The test that I had earlier helped strengthen me so that my test today I could pass. It scared me to death to watch her go in there. I mean, we get up to the endoscopy. We go upstairs in the hospital, and there's this little room there, and it's a nice, clean room and everything else. It's got a glass door and everything, and the doctor says, all right, we're going to go. He comes in and says, all right, we're going to take her to the endoscopy. I said, okay, where are you going? And he said, right there, and it's literally from here to that door right there. So we're going to go right there, and I said, okay. I said, okay. And they said, well, you can stand outside the door if you want. I said, okay. And I walk over to the door, and it's one of those doors, it's a wood slat door, so, I could peek right through the window and see everything that's going inside, right through the little wood slats. And I could see what was going on inside. I could hear them talking, hear them saying everything. You think the Lord did that on purpose? Could you do that here in the States? Could you be that close to a procedure like that? No. The Lord put that doctor in our path to assure me, to assure my wife. He spoke English as well to help us out. Because, I understood Spanish. I knew what was going on. I could talk to him in Spanish. But he could explain stuff in English that, because Spanish isn't my mother tongue, my mother language. He could explain stuff to me. The Lord provided that for us. And it was at that point I said, man, Lord, you're taking care of us. It's a good deal. And about that time I hear the door open. It says, come inside. I want to show you something. I walk inside and she's in there unconscious with the tube down her throat. And he's pointing the camera around going, see that? See that right there? That's her problem right there. And I was like, is that? Yeah, that's that. And he said, that's it right there. There's the problem. That's what she's got. And I was like, okay, sounds good. I don't understand any of it, but you showed me and I'm okay. Would I have ever been able to do that in the States? No. The Lord took care of us by giving us doctors, by giving us people that would take care of us. Now, if I had had the faith beforehand, would I be able to take that faith step and have to do the endoscopy? Probably not. The Lord moved through that. He grew me through the process of my life on the mission field. He's grown me over time. It's not something that just happened one day. I say, I'm going to the mission field. Tomorrow, I'm on the field. It's a growth process. And you say, man, well, I don't have much faith right now. I don't have much faith about much of anything. Well, you can't get more faith if you don't start. You got to step out. You got to step out so you can grow, so you can learn that faith, and so you can get stronger in it. Because it's not going to just happen overnight. It's not going to be just all of a sudden, oh, I'm a faithful person. I got faith. I'm good to go. It's a growing process. And it takes time. I know I'm not done yet. I don't know what the Lord's got for me, but I'm not done yet. Because I'm not dead. That's how I know I'm not done. The Lord will constantly work on you until the day you die. And if He's not working on you, if He's not trying to grow you in some way, shape, or form, then you're not walking right with the Lord. And let's look at Abraham. Let's look at Abraham, this story here. Verses 1 through 10, your faith will always be tested. Let's look at verses 1 through 10. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here am I. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went to the place of which God had told him. And on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said to his young men, Abide he here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder, and worship, and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son, and took the fire in his hand, and the knife, and they both went them together. And Isaac spoke unto his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they both went both of them together. And they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar of the wood, upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. Now let me ask you a question. At what point would you have hesitated? If you were Abraham, at what point would you have hesitated? For me, I would have even left the house. I mean, I'm not going to go off for my kid for a sacrifice. But, I might have left the house. By the time I got to the mountain, I might have said, well, Lord, I don't know where this thing's at, but okay, we're going to keep going. I'm sure the Lord's going to provide something somewhere. Even though He said to sacrifice my son, I'm sure He's going to provide something somewhere. That's what I would be thinking. My daughter. Walking up the hill, I'd be looking behind every bush, behind every tree, behind everything, looking for a lamb, looking for something. But what does Abraham do? He goes all the way up to the point that he's going to kill his son. He has the knife in his hand to do it. Why? Because God had told him to. Now, let's look back. What did God promise to Abraham? In chapter 12 and 15, what did He promise to Abraham? He promised Abraham that He would get a land. He would give him the land of Israel. He promised him that he would give him a seed, which is a nation, a family, and then in him all the nations would be blessed of the earth. That would be Jesus Christ in the future. But he promised him a family. Now, how long did Abraham and Sarah wait for Isaac? Yeah, a long time, 90 years old. Okay? And if you look back here, look, you can flip back one page to 21, chapter 21, verse 12. It's talking about whenever Abraham sent off, what's the other one's name? Ishmael. I blanked for a second. Ishmael. When he sent Ishmael off, he sent him off and he was giving him out. He was saying, get out of here. Look at verse 11. It says, and the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son, Ishmael. And God said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman, and all that Sarah said unto thee. Hearken unto her voice. For in what? In Isaac shall your seed be called. Isaac is the beginning of your nation, the progenitor of your nation, your seed. Told him that chapter 21. Now 20, what's he telling him to do? Sacrificing. So what's Isaac thinking? Hebrews tells us that Isaac knew that no matter what happened, the Lord would bring Isaac back. That was where his faith was at. My faith would have never gotten that far. I guarantee you right now, my faith would have never gotten that far. Now, I'm not saying God's going to come to you and say, oh, go sacrifice your child. Go sacrifice your child, because that's what we're going to do. We're not going to sacrifice children. That's not what we're doing. But the Lord is going to test you in ways that you never know. For us, it was Laura's medical. It was Laura's health. That was the way the Lord tested us. Before we left for the field, I had a missionary guy that told us, the lady that you sold us there, that I showed them this morning, Mrs. Muir, the pure prayer warrior for us. Her husband told me, he said, Darrel, when you get on the field, the Lord is going to test you. And not only the Lord, but Satan's going to bring things into your life that you will never survive if you don't have a faith in the Lord. It's going to be that you will not happen. You will not continue on the field as a missionary. You will not make it unless you have faith and trust and knowing that that's where the Lord wants you to be. And knowing you are in the will of God. And that's what happened with Laura. When Laura got sick, that was one of those points of something that happened to me. Let me ask you a question. What is the Lord working on you to do? I don't know each and every one of you. I don't know where you're at in your spiritual lives. I don't know where you're at in your physical lives. But what is the Lord doing to you right now? How is the Lord working in your life? What is He telling you to do that you know you're saying, Lord, this is the Lord doing it, and you're fighting it? What is it? And ask yourself, I need to make that step. I need to make that step. I need to keep moving. I need to go. I need to do what I'm told to do. And one of the things about faith requires action, just like it was for me to sit down. Whatever the Lord's working on your life about right now, you're not going to get that reassurance until after you take that step. Because then you're showing, look, I believe. And let me tell you what, after you take that first step, the second step's even easier. And the third step's even easier than that. You have to take the first step, though. When I think of taking the first step, the only person I can think of, the first person that comes to my mind, is Peter. Peter said, Lord, I want to come to you. I want to walk on that water. What do you think he was thinking as he was getting his foot out of that boat? This is a stormy sea. I'm a fisherman. I know what water does. I swim like a rock. That's how I swim. But that's what he's thinking, getting out. That first step, do you think he just dipped his toe in there? Like, okay, we're good. Or do you think he just jumped out of the boat and started walking? There was a book that I read a while back. It's called You Can't Walk on Water If You Don't Get Out of the Boat. You can't be a mighty warrior for God if you don't get out of your comfort zone and get out in your faith and step and move. You have to be walking. You have to be making action because that's what faith requires. It requires action. It requires you to do something. It requires you to move. When we first got to the field, it was our first winter there. We were told we were going to take over the teens. We had 4 teens, I think. And The teens came to us, we were talking to the teens, and we said, what do y'all want to do? So we want to do a camp. Like, let's do a winter camp. I said, okay, well, we're going to invite all your friends. You're going to go. We're going to make flyers up. And we're going to invite everybody, and we're going to do everything. We're going to make sure that we have this great big huge teen outreach thing to get all these teens to the church and everything else. And we got there, and we started out our team the first night. We got there, and I was so excited. I was like, I don't know how many people are going to come, but we're going to see what happens. We invited a bunch of people. We went around and took flyers to all their friends and invited them all. We get there, and there's 3 teenagers there. Granted, it had been raining, and Dominicans don't go out if it's raining because, they think that if they get their head wet, they're going to get a cold. That's one of the things that's superstitious they have. But it had been raining, and we had 3 teenagers there. The next night, we had 2 teenagers. And one of our most faithful ones came just at the very end just to come, and then he left as soon as it was over. The last night, we had 1 teenager there. You know how discouraging that was? You know how discouraging that was? But I knew that we were exactly where the Lord wanted us to be, doing exactly what He wanted us to do. And later on, that teenager came to me later and said, that was the night that I knew you cared about us. That was the night that you showed, because we'd only been there a month. So that was the night that I knew you cared about us. And that was all the reassurance I needed. All that work and effort went into it to say, that's my ministry. Now, not every ministry you have is going to be fruitful and flourishing and have a ton of people. And you say, I'm going to go out and do all this stuff, and I'm going to have so much stuff done. Not every ministry is going to be that way. But what's important is for you to take that step of faith and work in that ministry. Laura's grandfather spent 30 years in Africa preaching. Her grandma was a nurse. Probably count on 2 hands the amount of converts they had. It's not our job to get people saved. It's our job to preach the gospel to them. And to remain faithful. And in those times of trouble, those times that are hard, that looks like nothing is going right for us, the Lord is still working. And our action is still required. We're still required to be actively serving the Lord. And to be stepping out of that faith. As I said, I don't know what the Lord is working on you about right now. I don't know how He's working on you, what He's wanting you to do, where He's wanting you to go, what He's got planned for you. But it's your job to do it. For one person, it may be starting Faith Promise, first year giving Faith Promise. For another person, it may be, I need to go work with those teens. The Lord's been putting work on me to work with the teenagers, or been putting on my heart to work with the kids. Step out in faith and do that. Well, I don't know what I'm doing. Well, that's how everybody learns. That's how my grandpa used to tell me. If I do something, he would try to explain it to me, and if I did something and didn't do it wrong, so, well, I guess you figured out how to do it right now. Well, even if you didn't have to figure it out right, you figured out how not to do it that way. We have to continue working, and it's a growing thing. We have to grow doing it. So whatever God has got you doing, whatever God's working on you about right now, take that initial step. Take that initial step and start. Because it gets easier as you go. It gets so much easier as you go. The other thing about the story I want you to look at, let's keep looking. What you look at is I want you to look at Isaac. Now, how old was Isaac at this point? We don't really know. We don't really know exactly how old he was. But look back up here at verse 6. What does it say? And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son, and took the fire in his hand and the knife, and they went to both of them together. Now, how much wood would it take to burn an offering? Not just one little twig, right? It'd probably take a little bit. Isaac was big enough to know how to carry something, to be able to work. Okay? Now, give me one of the teenagers. You there in the red shirt. Right there looking at me, you. Let me ask you a question. If you're big enough to carry a little bit of wood, right? You can put a couple logs of wood on your shoulder, right? You think so? All right, now let me ask you a question. You go up with your dad, and your dad starts, you know what you're doing. You're going up to offer a sacrifice. And you get up and you build an altar with your dad, and you're like looking around, where's this lamb that Dad's promising me? Okay? And then your dad takes the rope, and he starts wrapping you up. What's going to go through your mind? Tell me, what's going through your mind? What's going through your mind right now? Would you try and fight him? You wouldn't want to get tied up and burned, right? You'd fight him, right? You think you could get away? You could run? Are you faster than your dad? You could run away from your dad, right? Yeah, you could. I might not be able to beat him up, but I can outrun him, that's for sure. What did Isaac do? Did he fight it? No. He sat there. Faith is not only learned, and not only learned by you, but is taught to those around you. Abraham taught his faith to his son. How many of you like to walk up a mountain? You don't have mountains here in Florida, but how many of you like to walk up a mountain? Yes, it's good to do it. Now let me put 50 pounds on your back and walk up now. Isaac wasn't a little shrimp. He wasn't a little kid. He was big enough to be able to get away. He was big enough to know what was going on. But yet he had faith. He trusted his dad. He trusted the Lord. Faith is taught to those that are around you. Now, you teenagers may say, well, I'm just a teenager. I keep talking to you guys. Can you tell my heart's for teenagers? I like teenagers. Yeah, I keep talking to you guys a lot. But you teenagers, you think, well, I'm just a teenager. I don't have any. I'm not teaching anybody. I'm not teaching anybody. I'm just a teen. Look at me. I'm living life. I'm going to school. I'm living life. I'm cool. Life's good for me. Is there a junior church over there? How many have a little brother or sister? You can raise your hand. You have a little brother or sister? Most all of you. Now, do your little brothers and sisters watch you? Do they act like you? Do they act like you? Do they try and mimic some of the things you do? They don't? Remember when I was younger, one of my friends had little brothers and sisters, little brothers. And everywhere we went, they went with us. Why? Because they wanted to be like us. They wanted to do everything we were doing. Because we were cool. They looked up to us. They mimicked us. That's the same effect that you guys can have on the little kids. If the little kids can see you guys having faith, do you think they can learn from you? Yeah. Same thing goes for you parents. If you have faith, do you think your kids are going to watch you and learn from you? Okay, you got the parents, got the kids. What about your grandparents? Do you think you have that much of an effect on your kids' lives? Do you think you have that much effect on your grandkids' lives? My grandpa was my best man at my wedding. We were that close. He had a huge impact on my life. He taught me so many things. You can have a relationship with your grandkids, and you can teach them how to walk by faith as well. It is not only your desire to do it, shouldn't only be your desire to do it, it's your job. It's the job of a grandparent, isn't it, to come up and be like, oh, you're such a great little kid, here, take a piece of candy and go. That's not the job of a grandparent. Yeah, the job is to spoil them, yes, because my grandparents, spoil them. I remember asking my mom, said, can I have a grilled cheese? And she said, okay, you can have it. Well, can you cut it? Well, you get what you get, and I'll take it. Now my child goes up and says, can I have a grilled cheese? Says, do you want it cut in heart shapes or stars? I mean, that's the mentality. But it's a grandparent's job also to teach the youngers, to teach the grandchildren. So you may think, I'm done, I've raised my kids, I'm done. You still have a job to do. You still have someone to teach something to. You still have a place in this world. The Bible commands that the older women, the older men are supposed to teach the younger men, teach the younger women. And it's supposed to go on down through. And that's what happens a lot of times is these parents and these grandparents don't teach kids. As I travel around, if we've traveled around over the last few years of deputation, we go to all these churches, and you know what we see? All gray hair. All white hair. Churches are dying. Not spiritually they're not dying. They're dying physically. Because the younger generations don't care. Because they were never taught to live by faith. And that's what we have to do. We have to be teaching those that are around us how to live by faith, how to walk in a manner that is glorifying to God, how to be a faithful person. We have to teach that to them. Because as I said, it didn't happen for me overnight. I have to show my kids So it won't happen for them overnight. It's a growing process. It's a growing process. And it's something that we have to do. We have to teach them. We have to, because someone is always looking at us and watching us. Someone is always watching everything we do. That's just how it is. My mom calls my little girl a parrot. Why? Because she copies everything. She talks and says a lot of stuff, and she's always talking. She's always talking, but anyway, that's another story. But she copies and she says things. Where does she learn these things? From her mom and daddy. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. And the last part is, look in verse 13. After everything happened, it says, and Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket in his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him there for a burnt offering instead of his son. The Lord always provides. The Lord always provides what you need. See what I said? What you need. Not necessarily what you want, but what you need. The Lord's always taking care of us. I remember when we first got to the DR, we were there, and we first got our house that we were at, we were looking for different things. We wanted a house because we didn't really have the money to buy air conditioning units because we needed one for our bedroom anyway, but we didn't really have enough to buy for everybody. And we got to the house, and the house first house we went to, we'd been praying, not the first house, it was like the last house we went to. We went through and we were looking and we said, Lord, we really want a house. We really want a house that's good. And we found a house and didn't like it. It wasn't in the best area that we wanted to be in, and it wasn't really in our budget. And we went through another one, we went through several of them, we couldn't find one. And we found one, and we were going to go with it because it was more than what we wanted to pay and what we really could afford, but it was the only one we could find. And the lady called and said, I got one more house for you to look at. And I said, okay, we'll come look at it. I remember Laura and I praying about it. I said, Lord, this is the house we're going to go with. The night before, we said, we're going to go with this house that we looked at today, unless you show us something else. And we got there. We walked in the house. I look at it, and it's in a gated community. I said, man, this is nice. This is really nice. It's in a gated community, and we walk in, we walk at the house, and we look, and the downstairs is big and open, the upstairs is big and open. It's perfect for what we want to do with teens, because our teen nights are in our house every week. So it's perfect. Look at my wife and said, babe, this house is perfect. I said, I don't know how much it is. And I asked the lady, I said, how much is the house? She said, it's 25,000 pesos. It's $500 a month. I said, sold. And they said, you want to look anymore? I said, nope, we're good. The other thing, so that was what we needed, was the house. We look in the bedrooms, and what's in the bedrooms? AC units. We didn't have to buy them. She already had them in there. I said, man, Lord, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We wanted this, we didn't need it, but we wanted it, and you still provided that for us too. The Lord provides for your needs. Sometimes He gives you your wants too. But He provides for what you need to survive. And He will never leave you stranded. Never. It may not be exactly what you think, but He will never leave you stranded. You have to be able to say, okay, Lord, I'm fine with whatever you say. I know you're going to take care of me and everything else. Good to go. One last story about the DR and we'll be done. How the Lord provides. Went down, how long have we been there before you went to the IKEA the first time with all the girls? 6 months? Something like that? Been there 6 months or so. And we decided we were going to go down to, the girls were going to go to IKEA in Santo Domingo. IKEA. I call it purgatory because you walk into it, you have to start at the top, and you have to work your way through the whole store before you finally get out of the end. And that's why I call it purgatory. You're trying to work your way through it. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. I don't like the store, if you can't tell. But anyway, we get there, and they went, and I had to do some stuff, so I went down to see my brother in La Romana. And he came down, Warren went to James was in La Romana, and I went down to see him, which is just on the other side of the Capitol. So we drove 2 vehicles. Laura went with the girls, and I drove another truck. And coming back out of Santo Domingo, as I was coming back by, I went and said bye to them as I was going back to Puerto Plata. Coming back out of Santo Domingo, the truck goes, you know, I was like, okay. So I get out of the truck and I walk around and I look underneath it, and there's just oil pouring out from underneath the truck. And I was like, Okay. Here I am on the side of the road. Don't know anybody's numbers. Don't speak real good Spanish. Speak okay Spanish, but not the best Spanish. And I got this truck that's just pouring oil out from underneath it, and I said, Laura and them are leaving Santo Domingo about that time. And I had the girls in the car with me because Laura was on a women's trip. And I had the girls in the car with me, so what does Laura do? Laura and them stop by, and they, have a carload of stuff. They put some of the stuff in the truck. I put the girls in the truck. I put the girls in the car with them, take all the rest of the stuff, put it back in the car, and they go on the road. And what do? I sit and wait. Because that's what I got to do. I got to sit and wait. So I'm sitting and waiting. Tow truck finally comes about an hour later, maybe 2 hours later, and picks me up. About that time, I get a call from Laura. We're in Santiago. It's like, okay. Car just broke down. Okay, what are you going to do? Well, we're right here at this station, so it's okay. And the girls are going to go with them. I'm here at the military station. It was like a toll booth. And I'm here at this military station right here, so I'm going to wait right here. And you're coming this way, so pick me up on the way. There wasn't space for all the girls in the tow truck, so Laura stayed at the station. And guess what? About an hour later, here I come with the tow truck. Tow truck driver stops. We pick Laura up, and we go on back to Puerto Plata. Now, both those things seem bad, right? Like, 2 cars break down in one day, right? Seems pretty bad. I look at it as the Lord's provision. If Laura and them had not been in Santo Domingo, they couldn't have picked up the girls and taken them to Santiago, where they broke down. And if I hadn't broke down in the truck, I wouldn't have been able to pick them up on the way back out. The Lord provided twice for us. Yeah, it wasn't exactly the best of days. We had a little bit of work on both vehicles to do, but He provided. The Lord may not always provide for you in the way you think He's providing, but no matter what, the Lord is there for you. The Lord is working in your life. The Lord is working with you. And that's what this Christian life is all about. How is the Lord working in my life? How can I see His work through me in my life? How is God providing for me? So let me ask you today, where is your faith? Are you standing here looking at the chair, looking at the job and saying, yeah, I got faith? But that's all you're doing is saying that? Are you actually involved? Are you showing action? Secondly, are you teaching faith to these little ones? Are you teaching faith to the younger generations? And lastly, are you seeing God provide for you? Are you just seeing every circumstance as a way of being, really? Or are you watching God provide for you? Because the Lord is providing in ways you would never understand. It's not always financial. It can be personal. It can be physical. It can be support some other way. The Lord will provide what you need. Turn it over to the pastor and let him finish it out.
Sister Sharon, if you'll come to the piano, go ahead. I want to give you an opportunity to come and we won't necessarily sing a song, but I do want to spend some time in prayer regarding our faith promise. I want to tell you that I have faith. I want to say that, but I've got to admit that sometimes my faith is not as strong as it needs to be. And when I think about all the missionaries that are on the listed that we have supported on the back of your thing, and I think of the fact that our church is half full, but our missionaries are the same number that they were a year ago. What are we going to do? Well, if it was up to us, we would never meet that situation, but God is the difference, and faith in God makes the difference for us. And so I just want to challenge you this morning to be not telling God what you're going to do regarding missions, but that you spend some time asking God, what would you have me to do? What do you want to do through me so that our missionaries can be supported? And when you do that, be ready to be surprised, because faith is always outside your comfort zone. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be faith. If you could do it on your own, it wouldn't be faith. Faith is always outside your comfort zone. And so God wants these missionaries supported. You want them supported, and God wants to support them through you. You know, He could make the money float down from heaven, or he could have them go just as Peter did, to look at a fish's mouth to find the needed finances. But God has chosen to use His people to support missionaries, and that's our responsibility. So I don't want you to turn your faith promise cards in this morning unless we're not going to see you again. I mean, obviously, we need your support and want to see your faith promise card. But I would rather for you to hold on to it and pray this afternoon and turn it in this evening, or perhaps better yet, go through next Sunday and see the missionaries that will be here and continue to pray about it. You choose what you want to do. You could turn it in. I'm going to ask the men, a couple of men that took up the offering, to come up here in a minute, and they're going to pick up any faith promise cards that you have. We'll have you just hold them in the air. But you be praying about it. You be praying about it. This is big. This is big, what we're involved in. And you are the big part of it. And so be praying for your missionaries, be praying for your church. Be back tonight to hear Brother Darrel, and I know you'll be excited about that. And then get on the phone this week and call some of your fellow church members and say, hey, we're having a missions conference. So we've got some responsibilities to uphold, and we need you to be there. Get on the phone. We're so glad for our young people being here, and the large group of them. But let me tell you, as your pastor, it's sad when there's more teenagers in the morning service than there are adults. We need to get on the phone. We need to call our church members. I know there's a pandemic out there, but you know, all that's getting old now. It's time for God's people to come to God's house to worship God themselves, and not sit in their pajamas watching it online or other such things. The Bible is plain when it tells us, do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together, as the manner of some is, and especially as you see the day approaching. Get on the phone. Be a missionary yourself. Call somebody up. Invite them over for lunch next Sunday, and tell them if you come, we'll go out to lunch, or invite them tonight, and get our church stirred up for missions, because the spiritual fate of literally hundreds of thousands around the world will be decided by our faithfulness to do what God asks us to do. And so we're going to close with Brother John. You come, if you would, and lead us again in that chorus, People Need the Lord. I can't think of a better chorus. And then you be back tonight, 6 o'clock, and I know that you'll be a blessing to others, and that the Lord will bless you for that. People need the Lord. When He's coming, I just when I hear that song, for years, when I was a missionary, going around to churches trying to raise support to do what I was doing. Way back then, Brother Peavy, it was this, click, 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 slides. You know, had the big carousel, and I had a tape, People Need the Lord, and part of my presentation went along with the lyrics of that song, and so I have fond memories of that song. Boy, I drug that slide projector and tape recorder all over the southeast, and the Lord bless. So let's just sing that chorus, Brother Johnny. Thank you and your dear wife. Thank you for being here. I don't want to ask in public if you're going to be back tonight, but if you want to, we want you to be here. Okay, I'm not going to put you on the spot. Let's sing a song, and we'll be dismissed with that. Let's stand together. People need the Lord.